And then on top of that, possibly a global financial liquidity crisis worse than 2008. The global economy is weakening very quickly. That's backed up by a lot of metrics. Most recent data out of China indicates they're on the brink of a recession, if not in a recession, which is kind of shocking considering this was an economy that grew at 10% compound rate for about 30 years. Then that sort of 7% became the new 10%, and then 5% became the new 7%. But now they're close to zero. They lie about their numbers; they're not reliable, but you can get something out of it. There are other private sources of information that show the same thing. So their growth is close to zero. A lot of reasons for it. The real estate meltdown, the COVID lockdowns, which are probably as much political as they are medical. There's no medical sense to them whatsoever. You should just let people get herd immunity. That's how Europe and the United States got past the pandemic, but China has not. But they're continuing to do that. Decoupling from the United States, demographic implosion. So China's a mess. They're again right on the border of a recession right now, according to a lot of data, but they're going to take a deep plunge almost immediately as I guess they've had a little bit of a mild spell in Europe, but the cold weather won't be far behind. I actually watched the jet stream. Often the jet stream is kind of straight with a little bit of a wave, but every now and then it goes meridional, which means it's really wobbly. That means that's how these cold Arctic blasts come down into, it could be the United States, North America, or Europe. It looks like that's how the jet stream shaping up. So you look for a bitterly cold winter in Europe. Their energy is depleted. You hear the happy talk from the EU leadership and others, well, Germany's reserves are almost 100% full. Yeah, but what they don't tell you is that the reserves are only 20% of what they need. So you got 100% of 20%, which is 20%, at least where I went to school. No new supply coming in. Latest information, I had always pointed to the U.S. as being behind the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline. But when I say U.S., I kind of put U.K. in the same breath because they work together. The latest information is that it was actually a UK operation, obviously with the blessing and the support of the United States. Just gave us a little bit of plausible deniability, but not much, because the UK, as I say, they wouldn't have done it without clearing it with us. What that does, it takes away Germany's options. If Germany decided they wanted to make amends with Putin, or at least talk to Putin, get the natural gas flowing in exchange for easing up on arms shipments to Ukraine, et cetera. That door was open, but not anymore, because they took away Putin's leverage. Because even if Putin said, yeah, I'll give you more gas, he can't do it, at least in the short run, because the pipeline's blown up. So that was almost like the U.S. declaring war on Germany. I mean, something we've done before a couple of times, but that's just sinking in. But people talk about liquid natural gas was a big story a few weeks ago. Well, that the European Union had signed a major liquid natural gas deal with Qatar, which is a major producer. So I looked into it and it's like, yeah, it'll come online in 2026. Basically, the Qataris, who are no dopes, were getting the Europeans to fund the build out of the infrastructure in a new gas field in the northern part of Qatar, which is peninsula. So 2026. Well, good luck getting from here to there. That sounds like 4 years away. They're not going to make it through 4 months, and that's the point. Global liquidity crisis, a global financial crisis. That's different from a recession. It's financial panics and recessions are two different things. They can come separately. In 1998, we had a financial panic, but there was no recession. In 1990, we had a recession, but there was no financial panic. In 2008, we had both. They can come together. It looks like they might be coming together again. This is revealed in inverted yield curves. Major dealers are bidding at auction for treasury bills. The Fed will give you treasury bills with a phone call. All you have to do is call the Fed and do a reverse repo with the Fed. They'll give you some treasury bills. But the banks are bidding at auction for treasury bills at yields to maturity lower than what the Fed will give you for a phone call. Why would you do that? The answer is the Fed bills cannot be rehypothecated. They cannot be used as collateral, but the auction bills can. So what that tells you is there's a collateral shortage. That means deleveraging balance sheets. It means financial distress. And we also see it not just in the treasury yield curve, which is inverted from right now 6 months to 10 years, but also the euro dollar futures curve, which is even more troubling. It's not unprecedented, but it is rare, and it's not a good sign. But the Fed continues, raising rates in the teeth of this really bad data. So I look for a severe recession in the U.S., really global, because your question was how's the global outlook? It's pretty bad. Maybe something closer to social unrest and riots in Europe, and then on top of that, possibly a global financial liquidity crisis worse than 2008. What the recession is a cure for, it's coming. I mean, the recession is coming, but and Jay Powell said this. I mean, Jay Powell gave two speeches, August 26th at Jackson Hole and September 21st after a press conference after the FOMC meeting that day. And the September 21st speech was almost like, well, just in case you weren't listening to me in Jackson Hole, let me tell you again what's happening. And he was in Jackson Hole, he was like Nancy Pelosi. He tore up a speech and wrote a new one, like literally the day before.
Yep.
It was 3 or 4 pages. It was really short. He used the word pain 3 times in one paragraph. I've been following Fed news for 45 years. I've never seen the word pain ever.
Right, that was pretty amazing.
3 times. But he basically said the same thing. But September 21st, he was even more blunt. He said, there's going to be a recession. It's going to be bad. Unemployment is going to go up. Get it straight. These things are going to happen. And that's what it's going to take to get inflation under control. But he went on and on about how inflation was job one, because the Fed has this dual mandate, which never made sense, but it's the law. I mean, Humphrey Hawkins, the dual mandate is price stability and low unemployment. Okay. Those two things don't always go together. And sometimes you got to make trade-offs between the two. But right now, the trade-off is very easy, which is unemployment's really low. Now, I don't put much weight on it, but the Fed does. Again, put your Fed hat on. Unemployment's really low. If unemployment went from 3.5, I think it's at 3.5, 3.6 at the moment. If it went to 4.5, 4.9, is that the end of the world? Well, that was considered pretty low in 2013 when they were doing QE4 or whatever, QE3. Right. So they're willing to do that. And they also think the recession, if it comes, will be mild, but those two things together will get inflation under control. And what Powell said, he didn't say that their target is core PCE, personal consumption expenditure, price index, core meaning excluding food and energy. And everyone's like, why would you exclude food and energy? Okay, they want to get core PCE year over year to 2%. It just came in at 5.2. which was up from August. The September was 5.2. August was about 4.7, give or take. It just went up. I mean, it's not going down. But they're trying to get it down. Now Powell did not say, we're going to raise rates until core PC is 2%. He didn't say that. What he said was, we're going to raise rates until it's acting in a restrictive way on inflation, and inflation will come down on its own, because rates will be high enough to cause that. Mm-hmm. At which point we the Fed will pause, and you say, well, when are you going to cut rates? He was like, the pause could be a year.
Right.
So you're talking forget this Fed pivot nonsense. I mean, you're talking 2024, if then, before they cut rates. But in the meantime, so they've got to get rates high enough. So they're going to go, 75 basis points in November. December, who knows? We'll know closer to the date. It'll either be 50 or 75. Some talk about 50, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it's going up. Probably going to go up. I have the calendar for 2023. There's a meeting February 1st and another one in late March, I think March 22nd. They'll probably raise at both of those. They're going to get rates up to 5-ish. At that point, they probably will have achieved the goal of bringing core PCE down, but they will also have destroyed the economy in the process. It's like I remember in Vietnam, the old saying, we had to destroy the village to save it. Right now, we do not have demand pull inflation. We don't. This is not what's going on. We do have cost push inflation. The difference is hugely important, because cost push inflation from the supply side, which is, again, when I talk about in the book, it's real, prices go up, but it's self-negating. The old saying that, the cure for higher oil prices is higher oil prices, because when they get too high, people stop driving. They shut down various activities. By the way, if you're unemployed, you're not buying any gasoline because you're not going anywhere. I mean, that's kind of a nasty way of putting it, but that's how cost push inflation tips into a recession, and then prices come down. And we saw that in 1974. You had Jerry Ford and Alan Greenspan walking around with they had these win buttons, WIN, which stood for whip inflation now, except we had a recession and prices collapsed. Now it came back by 77 for a lot of reasons, but right now we don't have demand pull, we have cost push. It will go away when this economy goes into recession. And then we're going to be talking about disinflation and deflation, which are, kind of close cousins. And the Fed's going to be out on a limb as usual, raising rates in the face of a recession and a price collapse.